Americans are leaving the USA because they can't afford America anymore, making $100,000 a year, yet they feel suffocated financially because the price of things keep going up. They keep printing money and the wages ain't going up, all right?
Our ancestors gave up everything to come to America, and we're going to be the generation that gives up everything to leave America.
I want to respond to this comment. The new American dream is to leave. I 1000% agree with this because I moved from California to Dubai. Best decision I've made because the American dream that we were taught as kids does not exist anymore. So, for example, we were told to go to school, get a degree, buy a house. How are we going to do that today? I'm from San Francisco, and the average house in San Francisco right now is $1.2 million. Who the F can afford a $1.2 million house? And again, this is not even a beautiful house. There's going to be homeless people probably right in front of your house. People are going to be breaking into your car. It's so dirty. It's so disgusting. It's not safe. Like, who wants to live like that? I'm sorry. I have to leave, and I'm glad I did.
Greetings, my lovely people. I hope you're well, and welcome back to my channel. So, the American dream was once owning a home, raising a family, and building a good life in the land of opportunity. But today, for many Americans, that dream feels out of reach, with skyrocketing rent, expensive healthcare, and the cost of basic groceries at an all-record high. Millions of people are now realizing that working hard in the US no longer guarantees survival. In fact, many are now chasing a new dream, leaving America altogether. For the first time, the idea of starting over abroad feels more realistic than staying in the country where people are working paycheck to paycheck but still struggling to survive. Let's take a closer look.
Why are people leaving the United States for financial reasons? Let me explain why. Since 2021, 3 years ago, electricity rates are up 25%. Used car rates are up 35%. Car insurance is up 33%. Groceries, just to eat, is up 25%. Rent is up 30%. Mortgage rates have doubled. Credit card debt between the ages of 40 and 49 is the highest in history, averaging $7,600. For 3 years ago, you've had to have an increase in $11,434 just to break even, just to live the same way you did 3 years ago. That's why people are leaving. They're looking for a lower cost of living. Imagine for a minute, if you're on Social Security, if you're on other fixed incomes like VA disability, maybe retirement income, drawing off of an IRA, maybe 4.5% a year, you're not getting COLA increases, cost of living increases, through government programs that equal $11,434. That's why people are living. They just want to survive. All right? They're not looking to get rich. They're not looking to bail on the U.S. They just want to be happy. They don't want to worry about paying their rent or paying their insurance or paying for their groceries. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand why people are leaving now? Don't be ashamed of it. If you need to increase your quality of life by looking outside the United States, do it. Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, Mexico, Dominican Republic, whatever. If you can increase your quality of life by leaving the U.S., I understand it. And all the power to you.
Why I left the US and will never go back there. The biggest reason why I will not be returning to live in the US is because it is a failed society. I don't think that Americans realize that the way that they live is not actually normal when you compare it to the rest of the world. It's not normal to not have healthcare. It's not normal to be in crippling amounts of debt from going to school or going to a hospital. It's not normal to be afraid of gun violence, for there to be a threat of gun violence in your school. It doesn't matter if it's a developed country or an underdeveloped country. It's not normal to only have two choices when it comes to politics and who runs your country. It's not normal to have a 79% literacy rate and half the country cannot read above a 5th grade level. My family and I immigrated to the United States when I was 5 years old. And in that time, my mom worked herself to the bone. We barely saw our mother because she was always at work. She never had time for herself. She's barely gone on vacation. Her life has literally centered around work for the last 25 years. And so my mom essentially sacrificed her life and her happiness in order to work. And when I returned to the US after living in Europe for 3.5 years, all I was doing was working. I would wake up super early in the morning, commute for 1 hour, go to work for 8 hours, commute for another hour, and then I would have 2 hours to myself before I had to go to bed in order to do the same thing in the morning again. All for 2 weeks of vacation time. And I want you guys to know that this is not normal. In some countries, the minimum that an employee will get off of work is 6 weeks. In some countries, women get years off to spend with their newborn child. After my mom gave birth to my brother, she was back at work after 2 weeks. When I was going to school in the US, I constantly had anxiety that our school was going to be shot up. And this is not normal. I want you guys to understand it, because when I was talking to my friends who also went to school in the US, they said the exact same thing, that they always had anxiety that someone would come into the school and shoot it up. And so I essentially chose peace when I decided to leave the US. I do not feel any sort of allegiance to this country because the US does not have allegiance to me as a Black woman. Black women are overwhelmingly more prone to experiencing poverty than any other ethnic group in the United States. Black women are also more likely to die in childbirth in the United States. It has one of the highest maternal mortality rates. And so why should I choose to work myself to the bone for decades to get nothing in return, to not even be able to retire comfortably for a country that doesn't care about
Our
me?
ancestors gave up everything to come to America, and we're going to be the generation that gives up everything to leave America. I know I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know a large percentage of people right now are at least exploring the idea of leaving America because it's just not working out for them here anymore. Over just the past 5 or so years, my prospects of building a future here have just completely diminished. With inflation and the massive rise in cost of living, there is zero hope for saving any money. I keep a budget down to the penny, and when I tell you that if I have $17 left over at the end of the month in the green, that's a good month. And I live super frugally. I look for deals at the grocery store. I haven't bought name brand in so long. It is so rare that I even buy clothes that aren't the bare essentials. I just don't feel like that's how life is supposed to be, and this is not what we were all promised. Now, this isn't just a USA problem. I think this is a worldwide problem. I think this is more of a capitalism problem than it is a USA problem. However, I feel like we're just too far gone here, and I want to try something different, as well as many other people. My girlfriend and I are moving abroad, and we don't think it's going to solve all of our problems. In fact, it's probably going to create new problems that we wouldn't even have known existed before moving abroad. It's okay to romanticize a little bit, but we understand this is going to be a big change. The way I see it, it's either stay here and live in a constant state of permanent, tolerable unhappiness, or move abroad, try something new. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but I'll never know unless we try. And at the end of the day, that's really all we can do, and that's just try for a better life.
Think about this. A modest apartment in most US cities cost about $2,000 a month. Groceries that once costed $50 have gone up to $100, Healthcare bills are so high that a single medical emergency can send an entire family into debt. What about wages? They simply haven't kept up, Millions of Americans are working full-time, even multiple jobs, but they can barely afford the basics, This is what we call paycheck to paycheck trap. You work, you pay bills, and at the end of the month, there is nothing left, No savings, no relief, just stress and exhaustion. For many, it feels like a modern day survival, not living, and people are so tired of it.
Americans are leaving the USA because they can't afford America anymore, making $100,000 a year, yet they feel suffocated financially because the price of things keep going up. They keep printing money and the wages ain't going up, all right? Matter of fact, there's job loss and there's cuts and all kinds of stuff going on. So once people leave that kind of environment and they go somewhere else and they realize life is supposed to be lived, it's supposed to be simple, it's supposed to be much more about enjoying your health and your family and your loved ones and your purpose and all of these things, rather than spending most of your life at work. What kind of a freaking life is it if you don't do what you love? If you do what you love, Cool, man, knock yourself out. I do what I love. Most people, 80-something%, don't do what they love. They don't like their job, and if they didn't have to work their job, they wouldn't work their job. So I know if you've watched this far, it's speaking to you. Maybe this is the sign you need to start doing some research to learn how to begin to devise your escape plan and live a better life. Because you know what? If what you're doing is not working, continuing to do the same thing, they call that insanity. You might want to book that flight.
Baby, we're moving out of the United States in 2 weeks. Do I even need to explain why? Look, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I've tried everything that I could try. Literally, it's just not the life for me. I've been everywhere here in the States. I've experienced everything I wanted to experience, and so have my kids. Still, with the income I receive a month, let's just say the math ain't mathing. When I look at how much I make a month, I should be in a very, very, very good place in life. And when I say good place, I mean I should be at so much peace. I should be living with so much ease. Instead, I'm here in the States, experiencing anxiety, depression. I never even knew I had anxiety. I never knew how stressed I was until I leave this bitch. I've always been a very minimalistic person, a very frugal person. I believe in, baddie on a budget. That's just me. If I got it, that doesn't mean I'm about to spend it all. Like, that's just not me. I'm tired of living the fast-paced life. I'm tired. I'm just tired. My kids are already homeschooled. I had to take them out of the school system because it's failing our kids. So why would I be somewhere where we're not thriving mentally, physically, emotionally? We are here just existing and just following.
Reason 9,672 for leaving the U.S. I just watched a video of a woman in Milwaukee standing outside of her home, which is completely destroyed from the recent floods. It's shifted off of its foundation. Giving an interview with the news about how insurance denied their claim. They will not have any coverage for this house. So they have a house that they probably have a mortgage on, and they can't live in it. It's condemned. And their insurance company won't pay them anything for it. And she's standing outside of her home giving this interview holding an urn. And in the urn is her deceased child. And she says, how am I going to survive? I'm still paying the medical bills from my son who's dead. This is the United States. This is the United States. What the hell?
In places like Mexico, Portugal, Costa Rica, and in some parts of Africa, people are now finding that they can live comfortably without being crushed by debt or bills, Rent is cheaper. Groceries are affordable. Healthcare doesn't drain your bank account. And perhaps most importantly, there is peace of mind, The ability to breathe without the constant anxiety of survival. Of course, leaving America is not easy, It is not an easy decision. It means leaving behind your family, your friends, and the only home you've ever known. But what's even harder is staying in a system that feels broken, where you work your whole life and still can't afford to live with dignity. Many people who have left describe the move as fulfilling and liberating, They are no longer trapped by endless bills. They are no longer consumed by depression caused by financial stress, For them, the American dream has shifted from owning more to living better. One thing is certain for many, escaping poverty doesn't mean working harder in America. It means walking away from America altogether. Are you planning to move out of the USA? And if so, where are you planning to move to? Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.